So it looked like Bria Hartley is going into hiding. And it looked like Bria Hartley is running after news broke about Sophie Cunningham being out for the season.
One moment was all it took for the season to unravel. Sophie Cunningham fell to the floor, clutching her knee in visible pain, while Hartley walked away wearing a smug grin that said it all. Not long after, Indiana confirmed the worst fears, an MCL tear that would officially rule Sophie out for the entire season. As her family pleaded with the league to finally take player safety seriously, Hartley appeared more entertained by the chaos than concerned about the injury. That lack of empathy shocked many, but what came next made the situation spiral even further. Clips of Hartley's smirk spread across social media like wildfire, and her next move only added fuel to the fire, pointing directly toward her guilt. We'll break that down for you in just a moment. But here's the real question. Does this incident mark the beginning of a darker pattern for Hartley? Is she scrambling now to cover her tracks, knowing a suspension could be looming over her head? And most importantly, was this simply hard basketball or a flat-out dirty play? Share your thoughts in the comments, because this debate is just heating up. Let's dive in.
This picture is going viral with Bria Hartley with the sinister grin, right? This malevolent look that's on her face right now, clearly smiling after injuring Sophie Cunningham, man.
The moment that kept replaying in everyone's minds wasn't simply Sophie lying in pain on the court. It was what happened immediately afterward. As medical staff rushed in to check on Cunningham, one replay angle caught Hartley glancing back with what many believed was a smirk. That single freeze frame spread like wildfire across social media, becoming the focal point of the outrage. Fans weren't just analyzing the collision anymore. They were fixated on that expression, replaying it in slow motion, pausing it at every frame, and claiming it exposed Hartley's true intent. What might have been dismissed as a split-second reaction instead turned into the defining image of the entire controversy.
Is the play that just occurred.
That's like she tries to slide over right there, and Hartley just kind of falls and makes collision with that lower leg. You see her immediately grab it. And she went down hard and was clearly in a lot of pain.
From the outside, the sequence looked wild and messy. Both sides had been going back and forth, matching each other shot for shot, and keeping the game at a razor-thin margin. Then, out of nowhere, Hartley came charging in from a strange angle, slamming directly into Sophie's firmly planted leg. The impact sent her crashing to the floor, hands immediately clutching her knee as silence swept through the arena. Fans in the building were frozen with shock, but online, the narrative started to spin in a different direction. Short highlight clips of Hartley's unsettling reaction began circulating, sparking outrage and debate that quickly overshadowed the game itself.
Oh, and Cunningham is down. My goodness. Should be. In a scary moment as we went to commercial, Sophie Cunningham hit the floor hard and she is being helped off the floor, heading back to the locker room.
The controversy didn't stop with that single play. It gained momentum because of the baggage Hartley already carried. Her history in the league had built a reputation that made fans skeptical of her intentions from the very start. Over the past few seasons, she'd been tossed out of multiple games for overly physical confrontations, earning a label as one of the league's more reckless players. And perhaps the most notorious example came during her heated clash with Angel Reese, a showdown that spiraled into chaos and even included the infamous hair pull that still lingers in highlight reels today.
Atkins, 7 to shoot. Cardoso rolls, catch. Cardoso over the top, can't get it. Reese fights for the rebound and a foul, and this time gets a little chippy and a shove on Nelson Adota. And listen, this arena, typically we'll see some ringside fights.
So when cameras caught that smirk only moments after Sophie went down, it didn't feel like an isolated reaction. It instantly pulled Hartley's past into the spotlight. Every previous altercation, every heated run-in, suddenly became part of the conversation. Fans began connecting the dots, arguing that this wasn't bad luck, but part of a larger pattern of reckless behavior. Even though there was no official word on whether the play was intentional, the perception was already shaping the narrative. Hartley wasn't just in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was living up to the reputation she'd built over the years.
So Mike put this up about an hour ago. He said, to all of those defending Bria Hartley, look at what she liked on Instagram. Emo, she's the dirtiest player in the league and should be kicked out. Most recently, Sophie Cunningham has been hurt with the knee tear and is out for the season. Look at this. Look at this. Now, Bria is the definition of consistency. Now, this is her liking this. This is her liking this post. Y'all see that? Breezy, 1414, and others. Bria is the definition. She's liking this post. Look at this. Death taxes and Bria Hartley always being at the scene of the crime. Now, that's her choke slamming Angel Reese.
Still, that single injury shifted the entire storyline. This wasn't the kind of knock you shake off and play through. Medical tests confirmed the worst. Sophie had torn her MCL, a devastating blow that would sideline her for the rest of the season. Overnight, what could have been dismissed as routine basketball contact was transformed into the centerpiece of a much bigger debate. Questions of player safety, accountability, and whether the league was doing enough to protect its athletes suddenly dominated the conversation, pushing Sophie's setback into a symbol of something larger than just one unfortunate collision.
Sophie Cunningham, let's be clear here. Sophie Cunningham was targeted. Let's be very, very clear here. But Sophie Cunningham was flat out targeted by a dirty player.
And before the league could even release a statement, the outrage had already found its loudest voice, and it wasn't coming from analysts, commentators, or referees. It was Sophie's own family who stepped into the spotlight, feeling they had no option but to demand justice on her behalf. Their frustration raised an even sharper question. Why did the burden of calling out poor officiating fall on grieving family members, rather than on the referees with whistles in their hands or the league officials tasked with protecting players? What made this moment even more striking was the speed at which her family acted, refusing to stay silent while many expected the league to lead the charge. The most powerful response came from Sophie's sister, Lindsay, whose blunt post on X went viral almost instantly. She wrote, "Maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more on hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes." Pathetic. That statement hit harder than just family outrage. It reflected the exact frustrations that players and fans had been voicing all season long. By putting the league directly on blast, Lindsay's words didn't just defend her sister. They ignited a firestorm that forced everyone to confront how broken the system really was.
Maybe you should focus her sister. Maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are capable to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you. The only good thing positive surrounding Sophie Cunningham coming out of this game, she looked in good spirits in the locker room.
Before the league even had a chance to craft an official response, the loudest voice in the conversation didn't come from broadcasters, referees, or insiders. It came from Sophie's own family, who felt cornered into speaking out when no one else would. Their decision to step forward posed an uncomfortable question. Why did the responsibility of demanding accountability fall on loved ones in the stands rather than the officials with whistles around their necks, or the league office charged with protecting its athletes? What made the moment even more powerful was how quickly they acted. While many assumed the league would set the tone, it was Sophie's family who refused to wait in silence. The clearest spark came from her sister, Lindsay, whose sharp post on X exploded across social media. She wrote, "Maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more on hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes." Pathetic. Those words cut deeper than simple family outrage. They tapped directly into a frustration that had been simmering among fans and players all season long. By calling out the league so bluntly, Lindsay's message didn't just defend her sister's pain. It lit a fuse under a much larger debate, forcing the WNBA to confront uncomfortable truths about consistency, protection, and its own credibility.
Bria Hartley deserves zero benefit of the doubt. And Sophie Cunningham's family not too happy. I believe this is Mama C Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing mean and plays out of control. Looked out of control to me.
Sophie's mother, Paula Cunningham, poured even more fuel on the fire with a cutting post of her own, bluntly describing Hartley as disgruntled and downright mean. Although she later deleted the message, its impact was undeniable. Coming from someone personally tied to Sophie's well-being, Paula's words carried a gravity that random online commentary simply couldn't match. For many fans, it felt like validation, proof that their outrage over Hartley's reaction wasn't exaggerated or imagined. If Sophie's own family could see the malice, then maybe there really was something there. And as often happens online, the deletion only amplified the post's reach. Screenshots spread rapidly, igniting fresh arguments about Hartley's intent, the league's accountability, and whether this kind of raw, unfiltered frustration from a player's family would finally force officials to move quicker. What began as a single injury had now snowballed into a wider debate, one that the league could no longer afford to ignore.
Indiana Fever fans wake up pissed off today. Pissed off. Not only are we getting assaulted, but they're smiling about it. This is the 6th time they've smiled, laughed, and cheered on our Indiana Fever players getting assaulted, getting injured, and it pisses me off.
At the same time, the officiating itself became impossible to ignore. The outrage wasn't just about Hartley's collision. It was also about how slowly the referees reacted once Sophie was clearly on the floor in pain. That hesitation turned into yet another data point in a growing file of complaints about officiating standards. Players and coaches had been voicing frustrations all season long, pointing to inconsistent calls that seemed to change from one game to the next. In that light, the Cunningham family's criticism didn't feel like an isolated outburst. It echoed the exact concerns that had already been simmering across the league. The absence of reliable, consistent standards wasn't just a matter of frustration. It left athletes exposed to unnecessary risks every time they stepped onto the court. For many, Sophie's injury became the clearest example yet of how dangerous those gaps in officiating could be.
Making all kind of excuses to say that Bria Hartley is not a dirty player. Let me tell y'all something, man. Come on in here. Come on in here, man. Let me tell y'all something. If it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, eats like a duck, it's a duck, man. Come on, man. She is the dirtiest player in the WNBA right now, winning the trophy. All right? Winning the trophy for it. Don't sit here and try to tell me Bria Hartley is not a dirty player.
As the conversation gained traction, the focus inevitably turned upward, toward the league's leadership itself. Fans, players, and Sophie's own family began demanding that Commissioner Kathy Angelbert and the WNBA office take real action. Clearer protection protocols, stronger accountability, and consequences when referees failed to step in during critical moments. The story spread fast, with major media outlets framing it not just as an injury controversy, but as part of a much larger debate about safety, oversight, and the kind of leadership the league was providing. While Sophie's family voiced their anger and the league wrestled with growing pressure, the Indiana team was left to face the harshest reality of all. They still had a game to finish. In that moment, the spotlight shifted back to the court, where the players had to push through heartbreak and uncertainty. What followed served as a sobering reminder of how quickly an entire season can be reshaped in a single night, not only because of the devastating loss, but also because of the resilience that emerged in its wake.
So proud of you. I'm proud of you too. Proud of you. I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. Yep. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. You never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. And
Indiana's night didn't simply carry on, it completely shifted course. With Sophie ruled out and Caitlin Clark sidelined, the Fever looked outmatched before the second half even began. On paper, the odds were stacked heavily against them, and most expected the game to unravel quickly. But what unfolded was the exact opposite. Possession by possession, Indiana clawed its way back, refusing to let the narrative of the night end in despair. By the time the final buzzer echoed through the arena, the Fever had delivered something no one saw coming. A stunning, record-breaking comeback that left fans on their feet and the rest of the league in disbelief. What started as a team stretched to its limits transformed into a defining moment of grit and pride, the kind of performance that turns heartbreak into history.
We will never be counted out, because that is worth gold. That is worth gold. Kels, goddamn baby. Put us on your back. Oh, big time.
By halftime, a comeback felt like pure fantasy. Indiana trailed by 21, their offense stuck in mud, and their defense constantly a step behind the opponent's sharp rotations. Broadcasters had already shifted their tone, framing the rest of the night as a matter of survival rather than any real shot at winning. Fans inside the arena braced for what looked like an inevitable blowout. But something changed in that locker room. The Fever huddled together, tightened their focus, and made subtle but crucial adjustments. Panic gave way to resolve, and grit replaced doubt. At the center of it all was Kelsey Mitchell. She erupted after the break, delivering one of the most electrifying stretches of her career. 38 total points, with an unbelievable 34 coming in the second half, plus 6 assists that kept teammates engaged in the fight. Every bucket chipped away at the mountain in front of them, but it wasn't just the scoreboard shifting. Mitchell's energy lit a spark, breathing life into a team stripped of both Sophie and Caitlin. In that moment, she became more than just the Fever's scorer. She was the emotional anchor, the unexpected leader who dragged her team back into the battle when everything seemed lost.
An assassin, Kelsey Mitchell, has a new career high. Backdoor Mitchell outsing in the paint for 2. Kelsey Mitchell, the big is matched up. Mitchell squeezing through for 2 and the foul. Fouls on the other end. It's Mitchell launching it and nicked it.
Still, the burden wasn't Mitchell's to carry alone. Veteran guard Odyssey Sims stepped in with the kind of composure only experience can bring. She took command of the floor, reducing turnovers, dictating tempo, and ensuring each possession ended with a quality shot. When the game threatened to spiral out of control, Sims slowed everything down, restoring order in moments where frustration and fatigue could have cracked the team. Her steady hand didn't just manage the offense. It gave Indiana the poise they needed to believe a comeback was possible.
Mabry knifes off the screen. Charles is doubled.
And Indiana looks like they're in a zone right now.
Kick out and stolen by Mitchell. Explodes 2-on-1. Sims elevates for 2 and a foul.
Bug with their point guards. This is where you have Odyssey Sims coming in. Kelsey Mitchell making a great heads-up play here, but Odyssey Sims has done a great job early on coming in.
Right beside her, Aaliyah Boston owned the paint with a commanding double-double performance that became the backbone of Indiana's comeback. She controlled the glass, shutting down second-chance opportunities that had been killing the Fever in the first half. On defense, her presence in the lane forced the opposition to think twice before attacking inside, while on offense her rebounding and putbacks provided the balance Indiana desperately needed. Every stop she created gave Kelsey Mitchell's scoring runs more weight, turning momentum into something the team could actually build on. Boston's dominance in the interior didn't just stabilize the game. It gave Indiana the foundation for their rally to even be possible.
Boston backs down Hartley. Aaliyah Boston, excellent post position. Picks up the dribble. Shot clock winding down to 7. Mabry, lob pass. Charles catches. No foul call. That's a huge no call. Looks for cutters. Charles the defense. Back on to Boston. Tina Charles. Backdoor Mitchell pouncing in the paint for 2. 30 points for Mitchell. That's the 4th on Charles.
Can't get caught ball watching right there. Great recognition by Boston as Mitchell makes that backdoor cut.
As the second half unfolded, the energy inside the arena shifted. With every possession, the crowd's roar grew louder, feeding the Fever as momentum began to tilt in their favor. Hustle plays started breaking their way. Loose balls ended up in Indiana's hands, rotations on defense tightened, and every stop fueled the belief that a comeback was possible. The scoreboard, once lopsided, began creeping closer and closer until the tension was palpable. By the time the fourth quarter arrived, the same team that had looked finished at halftime was suddenly running on a mix of adrenaline and precision. Each possession felt like a statement, each basket another blow against the narrative of defeat. And when the final horn sealed a 99-93 victory, Indiana had done more than just win a game. They had erased a daunting 21-point deficit and etched their name in the record books with the largest comeback in franchise history, a night no one in that arena would ever forget.
Shot clock down to 6 for the Fever. Turner, up fade. Turner kicks it. Hole three-pointer. Bottom!
Indiana's just...
The comeback win told one side of the story, but off the court, Hartley quickly became the center of a very different narrative. After the viral footage of her smirk exploded online, fans noticed something curious. Her social media accounts suddenly went private, and in some cases disappeared entirely. That unexpected move only added fuel to the fire. Was she bracing for backlash? Was she preparing to step away from the spotlight altogether? The speculation spread quickly, with whispers ranging from an imminent suspension to a full-blown league investigation into her history of questionable physical plays. For many fans, it didn't feel like coincidence. It felt like the start of consequences finally catching up. What had once been just an ugly moment on the court was now snowballing into a storyline that threatened Hartley's career itself.
Bria Hartley has privated all her social media accounts. Now, this is coming off news breaking about Sophie Cunningham being out for the season. Now, we know there has been people kind of investigating this whole situation with Bria Hartley. And y'all know what I like to say is looking real spooky for Bria Hartley right now.
While Hartley stepped back and tried to escape the glare of the spotlight, Sophie chose the exact opposite path. Injury or not, she refused to let the moment pass without her voice being heard. In the days following the incident, her response made it clear that she was determined to shape the narrative on her own terms. Rather than retreating into silence or letting family, teammates, or media figures speak for her, Sophie placed herself directly at the center of the conversation. That decision instantly set her apart. Most players in her position would have stayed quiet, focusing on recovery and avoiding the chaos swirling online. But Sophie wasn't interested in waiting for others to define her story. She addressed the controversy head-on, making it clear that her perspective mattered and that she would not be sidelined when it came to how this moment and her career was remembered.
Well, you come at Sophie's sister, you come at Sophie. And Sophie saw this comment, and bless her heart, she answered it. She answered it. Some of us were raised by the words of, quote, don't bite off more than you can chew. And some of us didn't. Quote, F around and find out. F around and find out. Kiss. God bless this woman. Yeah, seriously. She's great.
Sophie's first move was brief, but it carried serious weight. She jumped online and dropped just 4 words. F around and find out. The statement was sharp, unapologetic, and instantly commanding. It wasn't random, nor was it a direct shot at Bria Hartley alone. The message was broader, aimed at critics questioning her toughness, at doubters who believed Indiana would crumble without her, and at anyone ready to dismiss her presence because of the injury. Fans caught on right away. The post spread like wildfire across Wnba circles, quickly becoming one of the most talked about moments of the week. More than just a tweet, it read as a declaration, a bold and defiant reminder that neither Sophie nor her team was about to be written off. Even from the sidelines, she made it clear she still had fight left in her, and she wasn't afraid to let the world know it.
But that's hilarious. This hater out there, and there's a lot of them right now. I said yesterday they're mad because Sophie's being called a superstar and this and that and the other. Yeah, Sophie's got more pull than your A'ja Wilson. I mean, Asia's on this monumental run. I literally wouldn't have known that if I hadn't stumbled across somebody that said, well, the WNBA is making Asia Wilson's late season MVP push. Sometimes, I mean, you just got to pay attention. The WNBA wants to protect certain people and certain players.
But Sophie also showed that the story wasn't as black and white as it looked from the outside. On her podcast, she surprised plenty of fans by coming to Hartley's defense directly. She stated clearly that she didn't believe Bria intended to hurt her, reminding listeners that the two were friends, that they were super cool, and that she had nothing but love for her. For people who had only seen the viral smirk clip, Sophie's words complicated the outrage and forced them to look at the moment through a different lens. At the same time, her bold FAFO post wasn't aimed at Hartley at all. It was aimed at the larger conversation surrounding her. It was a shot at the critics who doubted her toughness, at those questioning Indiana's ability to survive without her, and at a league office that had already fined her 3 separate times this season for criticizing officiating. In other words, Sophie extended grace to Hartley, but not to the doubters or to a system she felt had failed players time and again.
I know Bria, and I'm actually really good friends with Bria, and I have been waiting to get on the pod and so we could talk about this because I did want to tweet it out, but I don't think that there was no ill intent. I think it was basketball play. I was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. She fell. Like, there's no way that she would go in there and potentially try to hurt me. And so I had nothing but love for Bria, and I even told my mom because she tweeted something. I was like, no mom, I get it, but I promise you that I was like, Bria and I are super cool, and she would never try to hurt me, because there are some girls that I think might, but she wouldn't do that. And so I have nothing but love, and so I hope people stop giving Bria some heat, because I don't think she meant to do that at all.
That history gave real context to her tone. Sophie knew better than most what it felt like to be punished simply for using her voice. Earlier in the season, when she criticized officiating, the league hit her with fines, reminders that speaking up came with a price. So when she paired a defiant social media post with a more thoughtful explanation on her podcast, it wasn't just an emotional outburst. It was intentional. She was carving out her own stance while also protecting the dignity of her family, who had already been dragged into the spotlight. Fans immediately rallied behind her. Fever supporters flooded social media with encouragement, praising her willingness to speak boldly even while sidelined with injury. What could have been remembered as nothing more than a disastrous night for Indiana instead turned into a rallying point. Sophie had taken her setback and transformed it into leadership, giving her teammates and her fan base a sense of direction. That balance, fierce and unfiltered online, steady and thoughtful on her podcast, kept her voice at the center of the narrative and shifted the pressure back toward the league itself. And as her response spread, it underscored the bigger message of the entire ordeal. Indiana wasn't crumbling. Far from it. Their fight was only just beginning. Sophie confirmed the reality, an MCL tear that officially ends her season. Meanwhile, the video of Hartley's smirk continued to spread everywhere, fueling outrage and speculation. Not long after, Hartley's social accounts reportedly went private, only adding more fuel to the fire. For Indiana, though, the night told a different story. It was proof of resilience. Proof that even without one of their toughest voices on the floor, the team could rally. Kelsey Mitchell's 38-point explosion powered a 21-point comeback, the biggest in franchise history, a win that reminded everyone the Fever aren't backing down anytime soon. Now it's over to you. Did the officials fail to protect players, or was this simply bad luck? Is Hartley stepping back because she knows a suspension might be coming, or is she just ducking the spotlight? And be honest, was this a dirty play or not? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to send some love and well wishes to Sophie as she starts her recovery journey. Smash that like button if you want to see Indiana keep proving the doubters wrong. Make sure you're subscribed with all notifications on so you never miss the latest updates, breakdowns, and behind-the-scenes drama. And before you go, click the video on your screen right now, because trust me, this story is only just getting started.